Thank you and welcome to our kickoff for FY27 for the Local Development Council. Before we get too much into it, why don't we see if we can do an introduction so that those on video can hear who we are, and then we'll try to go through on video to see. So everyone can just introduce themselves and their affiliation, and one fun fact, please do that too. But up to you. Which would be, I have to date the 2009 Obama inauguration. Okay. Third.
Fun fact, I'm a very boring person. Background.
All right. Hey, I'm Zach Blanchard. I'm the council member for the 11th district, which is about 40% of the catchment for the LDC. And my fun fact is my second child's first birthday was yesterday, which is coincidentally basically the 1-year anniversary of when I took office, which basically means that my wife went for labor during our inaugural year. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. I'm Nicole Stewart, the Assistant Director of the Planning Department. Not fun fact, I don't know if it's fun, but I would say that my family has lived on the same block in Baltimore for over 50 years. I think so.
Hi, everyone. I'm Natalie Cohen. I'm the Reimagine Middle Branch planner within the Office of Sustainability, which is nestled within the Department of Planning. And maybe fun fact or proud fact, but I'm a very good parallel parker without the camera. So like, real good at it. I don't know.
I'm Chris Fireluck. I'm the Casino Local Impact Fund Program Manager, and my fun fact is that I used to be on the Local Development Council representing Riches to Light and then Berry Circle.
Hi, I'm Jasmine Kimball, the Southern Planner with the Department of Planning. So I like to travel. The last international trip I did back in the summer, I went to Bali.
Hi, I'm Sharon Reuter, and I'm here. I live in Ridgely, so I'm never there. Fun fact, or interesting, I still take ballet lessons.
So like consecutive, like you've done it for.
Like every decade, I go back to it. So, but I mean, I have been doing it for
Casey O'Neill, live in Pigtown, president of Citizens of Pigtown. Fun fact about me is when I was in middle school, I qualified for nationals for rock climbing. Well, I started rock climbing. That's awesome. So what you were saying, I'm actually looking forward to starting rock climbing again.
I'm Paige Samaro. I forgot what I was using. Oh, me. I am the owner of the Scoop Cafe in Midtown and a commercial broker, as well as the initial founder of the Greater Midtown Merchant Association. So, fun fact, I was 6th grade English teacher for 5 years in Newport School. Yeah. I graduated in the Great Recession, so a lot of people didn't know this. It was very fun.
Ty McCurdy, I have the pleasure of working for Bill, which is what brings me here. Fun fact, I hold multiple world records at something. That would be used for a different.
My name is Taylor. I'm the executive director of Federal Hill Main Street. I'm not from this area. My fun fact is I am going to be a menace to this table. I think my fun fact is I was living abroad at the time that we pulled out of Afghanistan and when the war in Ukraine kicked off. And my like weird talent in life is finding things that people need. So I was their primary sourcer of hijabs when we pulled out of Afghanistan, and I was the primary contact for like 30,000 tourniquets in about 2 days when the war So like if you need a thing, I'm your guy. I'm the guy. Yeah.
Very good. Well, let's see if there can be some folks online. I'm gonna just see if I can call folks out. Hopefully you can hear me. Krista, because you're on camera, I'm gonna start with you. Krista, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Krista Green. I'm Executive Director at Mount Clair Museum in Carroll Park. And I guess my fun fact is that this is the second time that I am working at Mount Clair. I worked there probably 15 or so years ago, not to date myself too much. So yeah, this is my second time at Mount Clair.
Welcome. Erica Too Good.
I didn't hear you. What?
Oh, I said Erica Too Good is in the. We have, looks like she's on mute, so maybe we're gonna go through. How about Robert Beatty?
Hey, I'm Robert Beatty. I work with the Westport CDC. I'm the community organizer for Westport. And my fun fact, I guess, I'm finding out I have a problem buying plants.
Things or plants? Say things?
Plants.
Plants. Oh, that's.
Plants.
Oh, that's. Well, that. Find a solution.
I think I'm alive.
Ah.
Or they play too many.
How about Lisa? Lisa, are you there?
I am here. Lisa Hodges Hyken, Executive Director of the Westport Community Economic Development Corporation. I work with Robert and I can vouch for his problem. He's got a serious problem. He's addicted to plants. But he's pretty good. He's pretty good with them. So that's good. And my fun fact is I'm a lab mom, Labrador Retriever. I'm on my second one. And my baby's named Coltrane. And he's a rescue. So adopt, don't shop.
Love it. Very good. We have Serena, Serena, are you here?
I am here. I'm here. Good evening. Hi, I'm Serena Waters. I live in Berry Circle here as usually as proxy for Councilwoman Porter. Fun fact. So I guess I didn't realize that you could have too many plants. So I guess I learned something new tonight. But I'm an avid hiker.
Excellent. Very good. Very good. Z, you with us?
Yeah, I sure am. Good day, folks. My name is Zvel Nottingham Lemon. I go by Z. I use she, her pronouns, and I serve as the executive director of Cherry Hill Strong. Excited to be here with you all this evening. I feel woefully unprepared to be fun or factual. I played rugby in college. There you go. I was a rugby coach. I was a college rugby player.
Wonderful. How about Malika Brown? Malika?
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Malika Brown, community organizer for Cherry Hill Strong. I didn't get the fun fact, so could you repeat it for me, please?
It would be your fun fact, but no pressure.
Oh, okay. Well, my birthday was yesterday. Turn up. I'm excited.
And it looks like we were just joined by Betty Lane Thomas. Oh, well, are we, no, she's on mute. Is Betty there? We'll catch you if you're, looks like maybe getting there. Hold on. See you. All right, well, while we had you on mute, I don't know how to unmute you. Well, we'll wait. We're waiting. Okay, so Miss Betty Lynn Thomas, everybody knows Miss Betty. She's wonderful, sharp-blooded and all, incredible community activist and community leader. So I think we got I think I got everyone. And so if so first off, my staff hates that I do icebreakers, but I do them every time because you always find something interesting about people. I feel like that's the fun part. So we are here tonight to talk about the spending plan. Before we do that, because we have so many new members, I just want to take maybe 2 to 3 minutes of just kind of some background on LDC. So how did we get here and why are we here and what's our role and kind of what's the function? For those of you who don't know, this was a product a product of the passage of the casino legislation back in 2007 and was updated again in 2012-13 when table games were passed. And so for the 6 locations in which there are that there is a casino in the state of Maryland, there is a area around the casino that has a local benefit. Because of lots of iterations back and forth, the city is very, very unique, and I think we are probably the most special, and I will say, I think we've done it quite well, in that we have set up, after some long negotiations and agreements, a bifurcated process. So we have the Local Development Council, which is what every other part of the state has, but we also have the South Baltimore Gateway Partnership. And that came as a result of about a 2016 agreement about the steam line that led to the creation of a community-based, community-driven funding source. It is a very, very, I would say probably one of the only ones in the entire country that has something like this, that 50% of all of the casino benefit district funds go directly to a community-driven, community-led grant-making institution and enhancement. Couple of core facts of LDC and South Baltimore Gateway, how these LDC funds from state law are supposed to go. They are supposed to be additive. So they are not supposed to supplant existing city services or funds. They are supposed to be enhancing and dealing with the mitigation of issues or costs related to the casino. There are identified and outlined purposes around public safety, economic development, general investments in the area for infrastructure, and there are 6 specific categories. I'm forgetting 2 of them for some reason. Oh, cleanliness, and there's one other specific. How about the health? I think health,
wellness, quality of life, which is sort of everything.
Yeah.
There's 9 goals.
Right. So that was the state law that outlined these specific purposes. And there had to be an annual spending plan that was approved for the spending, multi-year spending plan was approved by this LDC body. We're a little bit different than everywhere else in the state. Everywhere else in the state just has their LDC and they sort of do these annual grant processes and that kind of thing. Ours has shifted where we took a lot of the grant funding because when we first started, we did all the grants out of the LDC. So we did all the enhanced services. We had all these little line items that we went through. And we sort of acted like this grant making entity, which was really in agreement with the mayor. So initially it was Stephanie Rollins Blake, and then with each subsequent mayor, and now to Mayor Scott, it has really been an agreement through partnership, not necessarily by state. Because under the law, the LDC is merely an advisory body only on the multi-year spending plan. So that's an important feature here because unlike a sort of legislative body or an executive function, we don't necessarily grant the funds. It is in the authority of the mayor and by token through the city council, the city council's review, then it is the mayor's plan that we are making recommendations for. So that 50% that's with the local development council is for the city's use. The mayor has discretion over it based on a plan that had advice and counsel from the LDC over the last now 10 to 12 years. And so we are here tonight to hear where things have been and where the recommendations are for money to go for FY27, which starts July 1, 2026. So we're going to hear some updates about where the money has been spent, where is it going well. And the reason we did this is in the past, we would allocate all these funds and then there would be problems getting it out. Generally, the city is not set up to provide enhanced services for a small geographic area. The city is a city. They have city agencies that do citywide activities. These funds were supposed to be identified for a specific planning area. And it was at times very challenging to get the money out the door in a way that was efficient and effective and had accountability and all of the various things that we expect of public dollars. And so that's part of the reason that there was this separate grant-making institution, the South Baltimore Gateway Partnership, and why the thought was the money that goes to the LDC is really best used for the big infrastructure, larger capital type projects that the city does in this area that are enhancements. So that's some context. Let me just pause there before there. Any questions thoughts, comments about LDC's background history or where we are? If not, so our goal tonight is to hear
Sorry,
the spending
I had a
plan.
question.
Oh,
Can I-
yes,
Can you hear
Hello?
me?
oh,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Hi, this is Betty speaking. I had a question. I'm sorry for getting on late, and I want to thank Chris for the invite. What portion, Brad, goes to community benefit funds? I hear you say about larger projects in which will help the city's infrastructure, but what percentage will go directly to community enhancement or community-led enhancements or
So these,
engagements?
unlike any other part of the state, 50% of the dollars that come from the casino, and it is not just the Horseshoe Casino, we also have a separate arrangement where we now pool the money from 3 separate casinos statewide. When the expanded of MGM was added in, we were able to sort of frankly cut a deal to make sure that that money wouldn't come from Baltimore. And so we benefit by the other big casinos, that money all gets pooled and then separated out a third, a third, a third. So each other space gets a block of money and then their LDC determines what it should be used for. Largely, it's their county executives who are making those decisions. In Baltimore, because of the South Baltimore Gateway Partnership, 50% of all dollars goes towards whatever the South Baltimore Gateway Partnership determines is an effective investment. And so they have a whole strategy and plan and have been doing some really remarkable things. On the LDC side, again, it is the mayor's funding. And so I want to make that very clear. And the LDC serves as an advisor to how those funds, the mayor's making a recommendation for how the administration would like to make those funds. We are giving feedback about the use of those and saying maybe it's not too much for the community or it's too up or down. And then it is up to the mayor to put it in his budget and the city council to approve that budget. So I just want to level set expectations that because of our advisory role, we don't really have set percentages. We sort of looked at it as a whole and made recommendations from there.
So Brad, this is my last question. So as executive, what percentage do you think is going towards community projects? You know, because I see the casino funds as an excellent opportunity for communities that are in the target area to carry out their plans and activities that they would like to see in their community. And I'm just curious as what percentage of communities are taking advantage of that. Is it a lower percent? Is it something you all might want to do to enhance more community engagement since these funds are meant for us to carry out our activities, if you're able to answer that?
Oh, sorry, Betty, just to be quick, I'm sorry, this is Bill Ferguson. So, can you, did I not
Hi,
see?
Bill. Okay.
I know, hello there. Sorry about that. So, can you not see? I'm sorry. So we are on the LDC side, so not necessarily on the
Okay.
executive,
Okay.
just the advisory side for the mayor's side of the money. So I
Okay.
don't know. I don't know how much their percentage is.
Okay.
I was about to ask a similar question, like what is the process for that, for project identification for SBGP? But it's part of the community engagement, but I feel like oftentimes people aren't aware of the things happening and don't have the right time to actually submit their feedback on where the money could be fair process.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But they've done some great work, yeah.
Yes, fine.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna pause there, if that's all right, Ms. Betty, we're gonna go into the presentation. So we're gonna spend probably the next 30 minutes, and my hope is that if we could go, Chris, if you could go through it, and to the degree that folks can write down questions as you're going through it, so that we can go back and ask questions at the end, because I think sometimes I don't want to get us off track to make sure that we get through all of it.
Right, thank you. So one thing I'd sort of, I'd like to do is make sure that you all can see. Can you all see the slide on your screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Not over here, so I've got to, let's do this. Once I had to do something on my end. Oh, this makes it more complicated, doesn't it?
I thought I saw you driving it.
Yeah, but it's, getting it the right size is the problem. Okay, let me do something else real quick. Apologize for the technical. But I think it's easier to.
While you're looking for that, you also had a hand on the
Oh,
Teams
shoot.
meeting.
All right, I am seeing this now. Lisa, I see your hand up.
And
Is
I,
it
it
something-
was just, I put the question in the chat. It's just the difference between the CLIF funds here and PCDA for the Pimlico funds, because it seems to be a very different way that those funds are managed. Like it has to be, there's a regimented process. If at some point you could address that, that would be great.
Sure, I think historically, yes, this has been a very, gone through many iterations of between the Park Heights community dollars, which were a separate process, and you know what? I don't know if the city wants to talk about this. I don't know the specific details these days.
Sure, I can speak a little bit to that, and just, so that Nicole Stewart, Assistant Director of Planning. And so, many of you are new, so you might not recall that, Chris and, the CLIF team actually sits in a different office, and so they came into the planning department 2 years ago. And as a part of that move, the intention was for us to be able to align with all of the things we were doing, on the PCDA side around really transforming, that process, around transparency, accountability, et cetera. And so, for the past 2 years, we've been, working on, aligning, around, both processes so that, yes, there are distinctions, but that we're, able to leverage, some of the things that we're doing on both sides as well.
And also just to reiterate what, and sort of tie together what Nicole and Senator Ferguson both said was that, the Gateway Partnership is really that much more involved piece, similar to the PCDA.
Yeah.
And that's why they're two very different animals.
Well, I would just note, it's a little different in that, yes, similarly, Park Heights Renaissance, similar to South Baltimore Gateway, also then gets a direct portion of, funding for, the Park Heights, local impact.
Right, so they're apples and oranges really, but there are ways that we can do things similarly, but they are apples.
All right, so let's go ahead and let's go through the presentation and then we will pause at the end before we go into the recommendations. So we'll have the 25-26. We'll start there and then we'll jump into the 27. We'll do the CLIF program updates first. We'll stop for any questions and then we'll do the 27.
Okay.
Perfect.
So next steps, and again, this is the beginning of the process. We're gonna have a full Q&A session. That everyone is invited to on January. Oh, I think that's wrong. I'm sorry. A lot of dates changed very recently. I believe it's January 8th.
It is January 8th.
January 8th. Yeah, I apologize. That should be January 8th. That there will be a virtual question and answer with and we invite all the agencies, et cetera, et cetera. So, to Senator Ferguson's point, if everyone can hold their questions, we'll get through it. We can have some discussion at the end. Then LDC members, again, will be invited to provide further input before this meeting. We'll have conversations there. Any outstanding questions will get answered. And then I'll post an updated spending plan, so. So let's go ahead and get into it. So those three. We're gonna update. So this is a year-end snapshot of FY25. You can see each year, this is, we've gone back to showing things by goal rather than agency. We had showed everything goal by goal for a while. It was suggested that we do agency, we did that for a while, then it was suggested we go back and so we're sort of, we're going back to, we're looking at things, by the goals. And as you can see, they are here. You do not have, goal number, 8 on here, which is, quality of life, which again, a lot of these you could put under that one as well. And, infrastructure. Which again, some of these are infrastructure, there's transportation infrastructure, so. Again, you can see sort of what was budgeted, what was spent. You'll see some oddities like, nothing was budgeted for City Watch, but 445 was spent. That's because we had allocated those funds in prior fiscal years. And we used to manually show, and you'll see this in some of our past reporting, supplementals with quote unquote carry forward in them. And that was when we would say, okay, we didn't spend this money last year, but we still need it to fulfill the project. It's not the budget anymore because the budget closed. We need to manually re-show that. And in the last couple of years, the Bureau of Budget Management and Research has said, you don't need to do that. If you allocated it last year, it's still being used for the same purpose. You don't need to go through and have City Council approve it again. So we didn't do a supplemental in FY25 for that reason. So that's just some oddities there.
Hey, Chris,
Yes.
quick question, and I was snagging some food, so sorry if I missed this.
Yep.
The Solo Gives Phase 1 FY25 budget has negative 300,000. How do you have a negative amount of money in the budget?
Great question. So you'll see, basically there was some, we had to move some stuff around. Phase 1 was fully funded, but we needed more money for phase 2. So that's what that was. So we're just moving, that 300,000 from phase 1 to phase 2.
But then the budget is different from the actual. So that means that we did move the 300,000 and then we.
Oh, I'm sorry, it was 800,000. And we moved 300 out and kept the 500. I know, and there were prior fiscal year allocations. It's a.
Yeah, I'll follow you on that.
Yeah, it's a trouble thing.
Is that a phase 1 study?
No, that was just partial building the capital stack.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Which was a multi-year and, well, I don't have every single year ready. I can have that one for next meeting and show you the historical and capital investments. This is just a quick look at every year's revenue. And then we, right off the top, we take out whatever capital projects we needed to allocate for. And then that remaining balance is our operating fund. So that's what we have to do, summer camps and tutoring and so on and so forth. And then that's how much we spent. That's the total amount in terms of operating. That's the total we spent that year. And that's changed in our fund balance. So this is not like normal city government where if someone doesn't use it one year, it just sort of gets put back in the wash. Our funds have to stay within our program. So we keep that money, keep tabs on that money. And then you'll see there the year-end fund balance is where it's been. It built up quite a lot during COVID because we're being very, very conservative. But then you see this year at 4.2 million, that we're coming out of fund balance. Part of that is the FY25 supplemental never got passed, even though we thought it would. And that was when BBMR said, no, we're not going to do this. So that's being loaded in at this point because they said they would do an FY26. They said, no, we don't want to do an FY26 either. So we didn't do it then. So that's part of the why that number is big. And this will, I'll show you that at the end. We have a separate chart that shows what FY25 supplementals left over and so on and so forth. But for right now, we're just talking about FY27 spending plan. So as you can see, we have a.
Can I actually stop right there?
Yeah, go ahead.
We're at that was the update for priors. Can I just see if there, from LEC members, are there any questions about the priors before we jump into the way it's going or the recommendations for moving forward? So this is how the money was spent, is what we just went through. Any questions on that? If not, okay, go ahead, Chris.
Question in the chat.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you read it for me?
Yeah, is there a breakdown of the summer camps and OST programming via neighborhood?
Very quickly, the summer Head Start is in Pigtown, Westport, and I believe Cherry Hill. The what's the name of the church? St. Veronica's. St. Veronica's is in Cherry Hill. And then this year, Mayor's Office of Children and Family Support asked us to do the Elevate summer program, which I believe was also in Cherry Hill.
Yes.
Yeah, that was also in Cherry Hill. So that's where those are. And those come as recommendations from the Mayor's Office of Children and Family Success for when they were looking at programs that needed funding. So.
All right, so I'm not seeing anything else there. So the next thing is Chris is going to go through the next probably 20 slides or more.
Mhm.
And it's going to be program by program. So a quick update of each one, and just a quick what it is, and then we'll just, or are you just going to do highlights?
We'll look at each one.
Okay, let's go ahead and do that now. And I don't want to get stuck. It'll get easy to get stuck on each one. So if we can just go through them all, that would be, and then we can come back.
And this will all be posted online after, so everyone can go through and read every word of each one. But again, here's the FY25 supplemental that's being included. Again, there was a $300,000 community development fund pledge. Pigtown, Carroll Camden had a placemaking project that needed a little extra money. Solar Gibbs Phase 2, again, that's what I was talking about, is required to match some state funds. And then Carroll Park District Operations was to support Mount Clair Mansion and some security and infrastructure upgrades there. And Solar Gibbs, the whole park is getting a major refresh. While that's happening, there will be one court that'll stay open and be available, and that's a multi-sport court that's done in coordination with the Washington Capitals. So that's a basketball, futsal, deck hockey court that'll be open while Solar Gibbs is being done, and everything has cost overruns. So that's what that was. Okay, so number one, so we have some great projects here for transportation connectivity, which is always supposed to be a big thing that we work on. And there's three different projects here. The first is the Middle Branch to Inner Harbor segment of the Baltimore Greenway Trail Network. And that is going to connect all the great work that's being done in Solar Gibbs to the harbor, so that people can get there more safely with a better shared use path. That is probably going to be somewhere around a $2.3 million project. They needed some funds to get started with, to start going out after matching funds. Senator Ferguson. So this is gonna get us from 30 to 100% design. And then we can also apply for US DOT grants.
So this 500,000 is just to get from 30 to 100% design.
And have some money for capital match, depending on how much is left over.
Okay, so when you said so what's the 3 million?
That's their ballpark for what the construction is gonna be, the whole cost is gonna be.
Okay.
Also part of that network, long talked about, has been the Wood Street cycle track. And that's going to be about over a half mile shared use path. And that will really connect, Carroll Park in that area down to the large investment that we're doing for Warner and Stockholm streets and around the stadiums, to better connect to that area. And this will complete the project and get it built. So we've been talking about this I was on the LDC many years ago. I feel like it was one person we talked about. So this is getting done now.
Is there just somewhere that people can easily see like progress on like what the design is, timeline for things?
That's something we want to have much better reporting on. And as you all know, this program went from one position to two positions, and it's now back down to one position. I mean, things like that are things that I would love to do. We're looking into rehiring for that second position, I hope, and be able to do more of that up to date.
Even if it's just like on the LBC or the website, like I don't need anybody to make it pretty if the
Yeah.
documents exist and are in a findable location.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that we have been able to do on the PCA side is to build a dashboard that has information about both the spend down progress as well as the performance measures associated with each of the allocations. So we are building the structure within the department that will to do that similarly for other processes like this.
That sounds okay.
It's something different, but it's in conflict.
Okay.
So yeah, that is definitely something we want to be able to do. Let's keep people more up to date. Then the third one is, we were a part of the Greenway Trails Network, will be in part of about a 2-mile long trail that goes through the Port Covington area. And this is not gonna be mainly public parks, connecting to public parks. And that's the one area that's different between the Gateway Partnership and FLIP, is that we also have Port Covington. Now, we have not spent a dime there, to my knowledge. We never have, but this is one thing that, as they were developing the Port Covington master plan, they said, hey, can we get some casino dollars at some point to do this part of the planning? And the thing is, I believe the way this works is that, we plan it, they build it. And so we want to make sure we have a really nice plan, right? So not a lot of money, 120 million, 120,000 for a plan is actually not that much, I'm finding out. And so this will be a great way to connect the rest of the city in with everything that's going on at Baltimore Peninsula. Then it goes Warner Stockholm Streets. And if anyone's been by there recently, you see they're hard at work on that project. And that's going to be an absolutely gorgeous fair use area that's going to sort of really be the connector for a lot of neighborhoods. And this is our final installment for that project. And yeah, so it's began in September 2025, and they expect to be done by the end of 2026. Carroll Park District operations. We throw a lot of stuff at Reckitt Parks, and there's a lot of agencies that can say they're understaffed. They certainly can, especially when it comes to capital programming. They've got a lot of great parks projects out there, not enough time to get to all. And so we said, well, how about we give you some resources? And so they very happily said, that's great. This is half of 2 positions. One that is going to be a more senior deputy capital projects manager, who I think is either hired or they're very close. And then the other half is Marco Sen, who some of you may have met, who is relatively new to Reckitt Parks. He's going to be really getting more involved with the communities and talking about everything from programming, the day-to-day maintenance, the short-term, quasi capital projects that, aren't quite big capital projects, but they're gonna be good enough to improve the facilities so more people could use them, and really have that one person to really help quarterback everything within Second Parks. Yes,
Can you just give me that name one more time?
Marco Span. Yeah, that's the, yeah. And we expect him to be at the agency, Q&A. So this is, part of those, positions. And then we are also doing, some small upgrades in Lakeland Park, doing some resodding and getting some rusty stuff out. So it's like, again, not a capital project, not a maintenance project. They don't normally know how to fund that type of stuff, and so that's why we want someone on the inside who can say, we're gonna do something different, this is how we're doing it, right? And then, of course, the multi-sport work for Solar Gibbs. The Montclair Mansion improvements, again, that was a FY25 holdover. Krista has had to be very patient on, unfortunately. Then Clean Core, so we have been running a full Clean Core team now that has been focused on Westport, Mount Winans, and Lakeland. And we were only paying for the program delivery, you know, pretty much what we were just paying whatever organization it was to run the program. And that's because the positions within the Department of Planning that actually manage the program, those are funded by ARPA dollars. ARPA dollars are going away, so we're putting in some extra money to make sure that we have staff from Department of Planning to manage and oversee those programming. We don't know exactly what that dollar amount's going to be, so we put some padding in there just to make sure we do have sufficient funds to pay our share of, because there's other neighborhoods that are finding other dollars. There's gonna be some funding somehow, who knows what'll happen, but we're just giving ourselves the resources to meet that need, depending on where it is. And then also, and that's also to support, the Gateway Partnerships, Clean Core team as well. That was part of the deal when they said, hey, we'd like to get in on Clean Core. You know, can you all just make sure that any administrative overhead costs are covered? And we said yes, so.
I'm gonna speed you up just a little bit.
Okay, keep going, all right. What's wrong there? Again, solid waste services, we have extra crew that drives around, does corner can pickups, extra 311 responses. Let's see that.
So, at them out. So what did they do?
Yeah, so they do the extra trash pickup in Federal Main Street.
So Federal Main Street, Washington Boulevard, get 2 a day?
Yeah. Right.
We go, does not happen.
That is the aspiration.
So, no, I wanna plug in this.
They're not always staff, this should.
So,
This would actually help solve small business issues on Main Street that did exist, because we're presently like looking for dumpsters and things.
and they get told, at least in the Federal Main Street, when they try to get, and like in that area, that when they're trying to get more cans put in, the DPW can't.
Right.
But I saw a similar thing when I worked at Midtown,
Mhm.
that, the Midtown was paying, like the Midtown property owners
Right.
were paying for trash collection. This trash collection that they were supposed to get as a DPW baseline service. And that was not a rumor, that is 100% verified actually happening. So I just want to make sure that like, we don't have money going into this that's not.
Big town residents are currently looking, or like citizens, looking at potentially spending for grant funding to quite literally hire dedicated private trash, because we have tried all solutions and if bandwidth is an issue and it's not getting fixed, then the money's out there.
So that, just in context, so this is like the perfect example of the 12-year challenge of, DPW has a line and they get a dollar amount for service. This is allocated for above and beyond service, but they're not set up in that way. And so they have positions, those positions that they're full, maybe it happens. We, at one point, probably 8 years ago, were trying to follow the truck around and try to see if it was actually, and it was. There are some times when positions were high versus, when there are high vacancy levels. It has been very, very difficult to track these operations. And this is the perfect example, is it happens in many different areas. I don't know that it's necessarily about desire, it is more about operational paths. I guess would be the right way.
It could be operationally complex for someone trying to do a city's worth of this stuff. You got a couple random areas where you're trying to.
That's what they, yeah.
But it's just like, I mean, it's 25 down.
But this is a great one where maybe there's another way to do it. And so one recommendation could be, maybe we don't necessarily do it this way, but we suggest doing it a different way. To the degree the city's allowed to, the contracts and.
Not to take us off topic, because I respected saving the questions to the end, but, so this casino money is going, we're advising on it on behalf of the mayor. But it's additional money that the city is receiving for the additional services. So is there an oversight to these things? I mean, you're talking about like following the trash truck, but is there additional oversight?
And an annual report that is submitted, there's some state audits, they are really about financial audits, but there's not a performance management audit. And honestly, I mean, in the other 5 jurisdictions, they write 10 grants to 2 million a pop and just sort of.
Yeah.
Entity or the thing.
However, for something like this,
Yeah.
where the team, casino crew team will be using, the 311 system. We have the capability and capacity to analyze, what they have been able to do on, their side. And where and when, and, to be able to report, that kind of information.
And if there was an option for like casino for 311, like for the people that live in the footprint, I don't know if that would mess things up with things, but if it's not specifically for this funding, it would just go through the regular 311 process and then maybe wouldn't tag on to that. For people.
That's a good point, and, we're in, constant communication and, with them. And so that's something that we can, work through. We were able to add, so similar, we will line tag on Grand Charm City cleanup. So that's definitely something that we can talk through. If the question is around, what's the intent?
Is this something that's been going on so Dirty Street and Alley 311 responses? So if I, as a resident of one of these areas, could send in a 311, that would be handled by this group instead of by the.
So it's supposed to be the baseline of services that exist anyway, right? These are supposed to be on top of the baseline, right? So let's say that the average, pickups are, average call gets defined to in 4 days, like you would hope that the average here was.
So the resident, it would be transparent to the resident.
Yeah, I don't know.
I wouldn't expect the resident to be aware.
Right, it would just go into the mix, and then as they allocate the jobs, there just happens to be an extra crew out there doing the
And
jobs.
then in addition, we do have the DPW teams also do, so for instance, they're cleaning up an area and then they know something, they're able to put in progress too.
Yeah.
Records, and so that's a question we can ask, or how that team, specifically reports, and they put it in as a proactive that shows up.
But we should have 311. So 311 response times in these areas should be faster.
Should be faster, yeah. And we can look into that, like I talked to them about, is there a way to track like tonnage or anything, and there was no easy way to track. And so I would love ideas on that. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen, anecdotally, I can say, I know one of the guys that's like been on the casino for forever. He's got like crazy glasses a lot of times. You see him out there with a hokey cart or whatever, clean up. Like they're definitely out there, and I see him on Washington Boulevard. I don't know if you see him around.
The one lady.
She's with Big Town Street.
But that's something that,
Yeah.
where there are specific questions, we can, help to facilitate.
Yes,
you know,
definitely.
some more specific analysis of performance measures.
And I'll put in a plug now, this is on January 8th, the agency heads will be available, so there will be specific questions that agency heads. We used to have them come in twice a year to performance manage, and they got to be a little bit too much, and so there will be the January, that will be for these types of specific questions for each of these. Wait a second, I don't really see things being improving, why are we spending $400,000 on something that doesn't look like it's getting any better? They want, hopefully, have that expertise to help guide any of the line items that we're taking.
And that's the exact type of input I've been looking for before that meeting, so that they can prepare, right? So these are the exact sort of questions we want to be able to. Okay, let's move on. We are at 65. Florence Cummins, $1.1 million. This is to do some central renovations, ball fields, play equipment, pavilion. There's going to be a water element. It's going to be really nice. This finishes off the capital stack, so that they'll be able to start advertising not long after June, again, depending on the capacity, but hopefully they'll be up and running with the both South Baltimore people by then. So that'd be that. Reimagine Middle Branch initiatives. The Marie, this is all Natalie. Natalie, do you want to come up and do this?
Yeah,
Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay.
I'm not sure if we have time.
Okay, we'll just do it quick. We'll have for substantive conversation later.
Yes.
We used to spend a lot of money doing, debris pickup from the marine, area, along the, Middle Branch, Ridgely's Cove. We got to switch models away from a for-profit, very, very expensive, model to something now that's working on with some of our nonprofit. Branch personnel, that's Natalie. We need her. Event support, $25,000, to do some parking day events. I'm gonna host the, sustainability open house in South Baltimore. And any other little, outreach that Natalie wants to do. So to go to the cause, this is just a little handy chart here, just so you can sort of see the different Reimagine Middle Branch initiatives. For those that are not familiar, Reimagine Middle Branch, it's a comprehensive plan that was put together in just the last couple of years. Partnership between the Gateway Partnership, the city, lots of other stakeholders, very specific plans and outcomes, and it's amazing. You should go check it out. And Natalie was brought on to help, move that forward. I should have mentioned that before. Not everyone knows what R&D is. Solo Gibbs Phase 1. This, again, we thought we had enough money. Everything's more expensive now, so now we have to put more money into Phase 1 to complete that. Solo Gibbs Phase 2. Phase 2 is going to be the rec center and a couple other things, splash pad. And so for FY27, we're putting in 1.5 million plus the 800 that was supposed to be in the FY25 supplemental that didn't put in there. And that is that. City Watch Maintenance Reserve, we spent a lot of money putting up City Watch cameras throughout the district in response to community requests. This is just make sure that they stay on. That's that. Community outreach, Digital Harbor High School Violence Intervention Program. This is a school-based violence prevention program that they were going to run in just 2 schools. This allows us to add Digital Harbor. Community Development Fund. We are putting in $500,000 directly to homeowner repairs and home buying assistance. How that $500,000 gets split up between those two is something that we'll work with DHCD to sort of come up with a strategy for. And we will be partnering either with city agencies as well as community nonprofits to execute the funds and get them out there, get an application process the whole 9 yards. And, yeah, there's a lot more to talk about in terms of the strategy around how all these pieces fit together. We won't do that tonight. We can do that at the Q&A. Partner support, this is specifically for our CDCs, our Main Street organizations. Having been an executive director before, getting operating funds is always awful. Awful. So, in response to that, for FY26, we're still hashing out the details with DHCD on how to do this. For FY26, we have 250, and FY27, we have 250. The idea is $30,000 to $50,000 per organization. The application is going to be pretty basic. What do you want to use? And are you in good standing with the state? Are you obviously doing work in the community already? Very basic criteria, but just to help our main streets and our CDCs just do what they need to do without having to worry about that particular factor.
So the assumption is that the two main streets in the footprint would presumably both be able to, assuming that they put in application.
Yeah, we will develop an application and scoring criteria with the HCD. And my hope is to be able to invite LDC members to participate in the scoring panel, and the scoring review panel if they so choose. So, you guys will have a chance to review the applications and provide it.
I'm about to endear myself out to all of you. They're gonna taste like shit.
I cannot provide, I cannot take bribes. Okay. Actually, food is but, yeah, so that's the Middle Neighborhoods Initiative. This has been ongoing in Cherry Hill and Lakeland with our friends at Healthy Neighborhoods. They're expanding from Cherry Hill and Lakeland, also include Westport, Mount Wine, St. Paul, Town, and Berry Circle. And no neighborhood strategy and investment approach is geared towards stabilizing and growing our middle neighborhoods and hopes of strengthening the housing markets, improving quality of life. So that will be, there'll be much larger footprint. Again, a chart breaking down when we put money into the community development fund and what we're spending it on, what the status is of those projects. Again, you can all look at this later. It's all on spending plan. As you can see, by the end of FY27, we'll have spent down most of it, so that's where we want to be. Community enhancement projects. This is another new project based on some feedback that we got from communities about wanting to have more public art or culture, just little things, just to feel proud of. So this is going to be managed by the Baltimore National Heritage Area, which already has a lot of experience doing these sorts of grants. And so we'll have $180,000 for grants and then $20,000 for them to administer this. And so then again, they will run a full application. You can be on the scoring panel, scoring review panel. So we're trying to find more ways for LDC members to be involved, even if it's not the same as, say, as the Gateway Partnership, if we're doing every single thing. There's going to be times where you can get, make sure you're seeing what's going on.
And to the question earlier about, funds that are going directly to communities. So one thing we can do in advance of the next meeting is to work down some of these projects to be able to articulate how much of this funding will be actually going to direct support for the projects.
Okay. Any questions about that? Yeah. Cherry Hill Arts Music Festival, we always provide funding for that, so that they can, keep people safe and not have people crash into things. Housing code enforcement, this is very exciting. We are building upon the code. We have an extra code enforcement inspector in South Baltimore and the footprint compared to the rest of the city. And that's been very, very helpful in generating in-rem and for abatements, they need legal help now. They need legal help to take those complaints and move these properties to a better place. So this is greatly increasing to 375. So we will have one assistant counsel, one paralegal. And this will be a 3-year commitment, and then we'll reevaluate after that.
Cool. So this means that the LDC's catchment will have a DCD lawyer like designated for the catchment.
All they do.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Westport will keep them busy. It's tough, big town, keep them busy. Employment Connection Center, we funded this for quite a while. One big change for this year is that we've heard from communities that they want more in-community engagement. So this position, as well as we've been putting money into the LIF training access pilot, which for reasons I won't bore you with, are just getting underway now. So they're gonna have a rideshare coordinator to coordinate that, which is one of the major barriers that's identified by job seekers who want to get training to better their prospects. They can't get there. This is gonna get them there. And then the other part of their time will be spent with regular office hours within communities such as Westport, Cherry Hill, using CDCs, libraries, whatever they work out with the local residents that have regular office hours to get people engaged in services. So they're coming to them instead of people having to go to Bush Street every time. So that's something we've heard from neighborhoods. And that's how they're responding. Again, that's a extra $30,000 investment in the LIF program. We have prior FY investments that are still there to be used. So I think I think we actually have 120,000 available to directly to pay LIF to pay people to sign opportunities. Youth Works, we're upping that back to our pre-COVID level of 500,000. They asked for it and say, hey, we can do more, we can get some more money. So we said how much, and that's where we are. Educational partnerships, again, some of these are the smaller summer academies, so St. Veronica Summer Academy, 30,000 for that. 100,000 for the Elevate Summer Academy. And for there. The South Baltimore Gateway Environmental Education Initiative, that's Natalie runs that. And we've been doing that for a while as well. Partnership with the National Aquarium to do programming, and then also doing greening projects and for the actual schools. Summer Head Start, again, 150,000 for that. So 6 classes in Cherry Hill, Big Town. Harbor Hospital Produce Prescription Program. That helps those who are dealing with chronic illnesses heal themselves through learning how to cook healthy, and they're given the food and the training on how to cook better, how to cook the food. They have dietitians that work with them to address their chronic conditions, and they're going to come with some really good, interesting stats on the effect of these programs that I think you'll be very interested to see. Homeless strategies, we hire 1 additional outreach worker for each of the 10th and 11th districts to provide enhanced outreach to individuals experiencing homelessness. And so that is ongoing.
So that means that there will be this is not currently being funded, that in FY27 will be funded?
It is funded now. I think they have some vacant position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when it says which will double the coverage, is it?
That's my fault. That's a copy and paste from last year when it did start up that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Weird. Well, we have further, we can dive into stuff like that later.
Yep, that's okay. Then me, and I'll tell you the other position, to do all this fun stuff. Also, we used to spend $2 million a year.
Actually, we spent 2.9.
$2.9 million a year paying BPD to keep the casino area safe. We've whittled that down over time, to the point now where we are at 500,000. And we're just giving that to the casino, to hire, private contractors, to patrol. And this was at the request and pleading of the Southern District, which was like, you don't want to just pay guys to sit there, and it wasn't a good use of their time, as officers, and they were very happy to let that money go in and do it. So that is everything on one chart.
All right, so let's
So we did with the FY25 supplemental.
go with that. Let's go with that. Let's keep that one up.
All right.
That way then we can see them all in one spot.
Yeah.
So this is the full scope of all of the different projects, which are all included in PowerPoint and then are more detailed or similar to detailed in the full report. See if they're in goal 0 or 1. Are there any questions from members or things you'd like more information prepared for January 8th? 0 or 1 projects.
Yes, I would like to understand the two 500,000, the Bush Street and the Solo Gibbs Park to Inner Harbor Trail connectors. How, I think it said those were both 30 to 100% designed.
The Bush Street is
Is it
this is gonna fund. This is gonna construct.
Okay, I would just like to have more detail on, like, that $500,000 is going to what for each of those things.
Okay.
There's 2, but we'll keep the councilman break.
Oh, sorry.
0, 1, or 2. Question for 0, 1, or 2?
In the chat, Mr. Beatty asked, can we explain how clean core funding went from 172,000 to 500,000?
That would be,
I'll hold until the next meeting, but.
I mean, basically, I think the original year was only for half a year's funding. For the original year, and then the annual cost for a team is right around 350 something. For to have a fully staffed team for 365 days, $350,000 a year.
80% of which is actual salaries for crew members.
Right. And so then the additional is what we'll need to keep the program running by having staff to actually run it.
And then I think this is also referred to clean core, but Ms. Brown can clarify, if not, does the department recruit from within the communities?
So yes, and so we don't have to do all that here, but the answer is, yes. So our vendors for clean core include Civic Works, Bond Secure, and Frontline, and they are both, clean core more generally is a workforce development program that is designed to hire unemployed and underemployed residents. And Bond Secure team specifically that services website Westport works directly with the Center for Urgent Families to bring in folks from who fit that criteria, who we're trying to help to get on back to stable employment.
And then one final comment as it relates to goal 2 is that 311, as it relates to what report, 311 does not answer trash or dumping 311 requests. Not today, not 2 years ago, not in the early LDC.
Yeah, I'd like to second the request for the information on the solid waste services.
All right, if that is goal 2, anything in goal 3, questions or comments or feedback for goal 3? Safety.
Sorry, city watch cameras, are those the bubbles?
Fixed ones, I believe, on fixed, yeah.
Okay, so is there, with the investment there, we've had remarkably little success gaining access to that. Please always tell us they face the wrong direction because they move. So, is there any sort of oversight or anything, or could we learn more about how that has benefited? Because installing them is one thing.
Right.
And actually being utilized to help solve problems.
And I believe I asked a similar question during one of these sessions last year, and it sounded like BPD has the ability to, if we like, they have a person on staff or like somebody is on watch and then they have to go to that camera and do the thing. But what you're saying, we have not been able to successfully access that as residents or business owners.
Yeah.
Even my.
I mean, the video itself.
No,
Oh,
the willing, the,
They come to me for footage whenever something happens on the block.
yeah.
I
And
had
I'm
a
like, but that's.
for personal camera that I, and I provide to BPP because we can't get camera, or we can't, yeah.
We have,
They don't use them.
we have cameras and it's very hard to have the police. We end up saying, they're sitting on watch cameras,
Really
here,
want
here, and here. And then it just seems to drive them like, oh, so they're not always to carjacking, I don't know. I don't know what happens.
So I think back to like the neighborhood process.
Well, BPD is not a capacity, well, the supervising staff.
Yeah, officers, they're down. So, I mean, but,
Supervising civilian, I think.
got it, okay.
It's the bill.
They shouldn't, I mean, crime wise, right, we've got way less violent and property crimes being committed 2 years ago, and I've seen this problem as well, where like a resident is complaining about a crime that happened right next to a city watch camera. So I don't know what the question is, but there is like some amount of, there's some issue with like how that program is changed. It definitely feels like what has to happen is like a resident or business owner has to go get the footage from their own cameras and then give that to the detective.
That is what happened.
My only experience was a guy robbed me and they had him 10 minutes later because they could track him on security.
There you go.
It's
It's used for real-time application. It is not very well used for
Uh,
retroactive police investigatory efforts.
That's actually a helpful reference,
Yeah.
because I know of 2 instances where we definitely use City Watch, and was able to apprehend somebody within a hour-long period.
Because the intel guy down in Southern District was looking at the screen.
Yep.
And it's, okay.
Well, and and this downtown, there is the city that has all of them.
Right.
That then they will track and then they'll have Fox drive to connect through. So, yeah. So they, especially if it's in pursuit in those types of things. But so that's one, but it's, there is also just this fact, a proliferation problem of video that for state's attorney's offices across the state, but now with body worn cameras plus all the cameras that exist. Anything that is seen has to be disclosed to the defense of the Brady violation, or it's not disclosed, so somebody has to review all of the material that's been looked at. And if there is a subsequent prosecution, it has to be, if it is not released, it's a Brady violation, so there is this massive shortage of backwards reviewing of police camera footage, because if they review it and don't turn it over to show alternative suspects, then it's a Brady violation, and it kills the case. And so, that did really.
Trying to think, like, neighbors and residents are able to more.
That's always bad. But like body worn camera is actually the one that's the biggest challenge, because if you think like 6 officers show up on a scene, it's a 30-minute endeavor. Those 6 each do, it has to be reviewed 6 times, 30 minutes apiece, and you can it just starts to explode. So just an interesting thing about change. Super helpful when they're useful, but then also, yeah. Side problems. A little bit, sorry, that's a little side.
Unintended consequences.
Yes. Goal number 4, redevelopment, revitalization, development fund, maintenance projects, code enforcement.
I'd like a little bit more information on the community partner support. I know it probably sounds like, oh, you work for Main Street, so you're very interested in this money, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, because like my day face is like, I'm phenomenal at my job, you should give me all the money. My peer face is, I'd be curious to see who is eligible for this, because I would hope to see that it's a broad array of community organizations that are eligible for this money, because Main Street gets a unfair advantage in a lot of grant spaces, and we are not the people that are best suited to accommodate some problems. And we're the people that are getting the money. So I want to make sure that that was a pretty broad group of people that have access to that money.
And I'm saying if that's what, the criteria, by which, you want to support these funds, we can then do that.
Yeah,
Program.
I think it's a great thing to have. I just want to make sure it's not just like so targeted. That certain organizations are disqualified for certain reasons just because they're a certain, they're not demonstrating a certain amount of money in their organizational capacity, whatever it is, but I know that like, it's not hard for me to go get money. And I'm not necessarily the best steward of that money. And so I would want to make sure that the competition pool has like a fair shake for the people that might actually be better suited at solving problems than my organization might
To
be.
that point, one thing that I just learned this past week that I was not aware of, but a lot of our community neighborhood associations are not actually 501c3s. I didn't know that. Since the Big Town is, so we have been able to receive grant funding, but we also are incorporated to lead as a fiscal sponsor. So like Big Town Main Street, before we were, they would basically take some of this funding and work with us and hey, how do we help you guys do things? I think that's another thing to consider. If it is Main Street that has to get it because they are the only one that financially, fiscally can manage it,
Yeah.
how do we have to make those?
How do you make sub grants available? Because a lot of these grant funds don't allow for someone to be a fiscal sponsor and then be a sub, to put out a sub grant. And sometimes like, I've got plenty of great ideas and probably the capacity to execute it, but that doesn't mean that I should be part and operating that fund.
And I would say we had some, options within our, a little bit around how we, structure some of these things, whether it is, something like a direct grant, of course, everything does have to follow the city legal.
Of course.
Financial regulations around that, but we've done similar things with Baltimore Civic Fund, with the city's as a sponsor, or some of the, structuring that.
I don't know how nuanced our advising gets on these funds, but if we are in the weeds of that, that would be what I would ask.
Yeah, I think we can definitely talk about that more. The main goal of that is really to support organizations who are changing the fabric of the communities, that are flipping vacant houses, that are bringing in businesses, like that's the goal. There's all sorts of wonderful things that different organizations are doing.
Right.
I'd love them to have extra dance class, but that's not, this is
little.
Yeah, so your point is well taken, your point is well taken.
Yeah. And there's certain things that I think are projects that would better move the needle than what our organization can do, so I just want to make sure that it's a broad group of people that have access to the product.
Fair enough.
On the community development funds, is this exclusively to Lakeland and Westport?
Where's that?
Community development fund, homeowner repairs fund line.
No, that's gonna be district wide.
Okay.
That's gonna be district wide, that's gonna be, developed by DHCD, and a equitable and, whatever the equitable fair process is for that, we'll work with them. And whatever partners, to develop the criteria. It might just be through the normal hubs, process, it might be something slightly different, we might ask them to do something different. We want to include certain people that may not, maybe beyond hubs, but hubs is a housing upgrades benefiting seniors for those. So we're open to different ideas, exactly how to shape it. Because there's plenty of needs, so.
I was gonna say one thing, because Hubs does a great job, I've had personal experience in the neighborhood with folks, and that's great for one element of the place, the friendly infrastructure around you.
Yeah.
The other challenge is truly with these vertical line homes, how can we think bigger to help them age in place, because like there comes a point at which 2 flights of stairs is just never gonna cut it for, I'm watching my neighbors. That, and then also, on the repair for the home buying assistance. Something I know, some folks in Cherry Hill that I've spoken to in the past, it sounds like there's a big challenge with, people in their parents' homes that are in tax arrears or for mortgage situations, things like that. So also, it's not even just home buying, like this new home buyer education. It's how do you save the family home and doing it before they fall prey to somebody predatory, it's just plenty. Taxing them non-stop. Yeah, exactly. But the reverse mortgage, like the setup, I just,
Yep, no, I know what you're saying.
I've had people come to me for help and unfortunately there's nothing. But yeah, if there were something like that.
That's one thing, you know, I said specifically THCD is you're talking about the different pathways to vacancy, you know, how a home becomes vacant, you know, and how, you know, what are different things that you wouldn't normally be able to do? You know, with the funding that's available to you that you think would be helpful, and you know, that's part of this conversation. So I don't know what to say, but no, that point is well taken.
Rebuilding Together Baltimore, I'm gonna bring up as an example, because we actually gave them a letter of support for a grant that they submitted to FBGP specifically for this. It is preserving affordable homeownership, improving housing safety, and allowing as residents to age in place in the Midtown, general area. So there are other organizations that are doing this kind of thing, so I don't.
It's just not some kind of, again, the stairs, you gotta fight the.
I will say, Helping Neighborhood, they do have some like homeowner education classes that go into estate planning and like mortgage stuff and helping to figure out liens. So their H&R is working on that a little bit, but yeah, I agree with you, it's more.
And they're doing that with CLIF funding and Gateway Partnership support in Lakeland right now as a proof of concept.
Thanks.
Economic growth. I'll ask my perennial question. The Employment Connection Center is up to 775,000 this year.
Yeah.
Never see their outcomes.
Yeah, so they know that they're coming to this next meeting with data. They're
So as far as this category goes, because this is the category I'm personally most interested in, are we advising strictly on the amount of money going to these programs? Are we advising on the continued or FY 2027 support of these programs? Can we suggest other programs? But tell me how far the advising goes insofar as it's categorical.
Do all of it. So, I mean, this doesn't seem like a priority anymore, so we should be spending less for FY27 or, you know, I'm always a fan of youth works. I would put in every dollar we have to reflect the maturity. So, you know, it could be along those, or it could just be you're missing something big in the category. And so that it's allocated, you know, if there were something to be cut, it could go, you know,
Over here,
it's a general recommendation that eventually we sort of vote on it as a package and incorporate notes and feedback along the way.
Okay.
What is that? Is this just recurring up the 775 for operator facility and staff?
Yeah, so that is the facility, the staff, that's an extra position. Again, costs have gone up. MOED as an entire organization did a wage refresh because a lot of their people were not being paid very much. And they were leaving because they're like, how is it work? And I was looking at jobs for this person. I'm fine with this job, you know? So like, they did have to do some changing. We are losing their most expensive employee is moving into the main program. He's been there forever. Bill Carnes, he's awesome. But so it would have gone up even more, but yeah.
Is it possible?
I'll push through.
Some Bush Street.
Carroll.
It's in Carroll Camp, which is yeah, which is again why we want to do more outreach. Oh, I should mention. I should also mention that one thing I also told them to do was to use the Lyft program also for getting people to Bush Street for weddings. You know, so, because it's not in the best. I mean, it is right in the middle of everyone, technically speaking, but yeah, so again, those are sorts of things that are absolutely true, and the SWIFT program, again, hopefully they can use that to get people there, and we'll see what effect that has.
Can, for category 5, just as a whole, for all of these line items, can we get the ROIs?
What do you mean?
Can, like, for the amount of money that's being invested into these programs, they show data for, like, $1 invested for next $3 in return, usually, or can we get information like Youth Works, by putting in $500,000, they're able to help to pipeline X amount of people into employment, and how this affects the unemployment rate in Baltimore? Can we get that sort of information?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so I think that, as this is evolving, I think where we are is we're able to ask the associate agency for some output.
Okay.
How many people they're serving, et cetera. However, there's still work that needs to be done on both the quarterly reporting that we're asking these folks to do, as well as our evaluative processes in order to be able to get to something like outcome. And so I would say that what we will, absolutely, that's going to be the process. So will it be able to come to the next meeting and say, speak specifically to the outcomes? Probably not. But so I think we are, asking for the conversation to build out the best way and for us to be able to collect that information as well as analyze it and report out. Because we're not doing that.
Yeah, and so like one of the things that that we have been doing, and we've been developing this, and my plan is to share this with you all in anticipation of the vote meeting, is that we do have a new thing, what we call a project information form. And it's the who, what, when, where, how, and why of each project. And so we do ask them to identify 3 measurable activities that they're going to be proud of. And so I'll have those for you. Some are more complete than others, but they are like for the Supreme Courts, before and after pictures uploaded, an RTS reporting for each day, weekly reports, and so on and so forth. So we have begun that process. And what I need to get better at doing is doing more of a quarterly report out and ongoing report out. That is our aspiration, but by that time, I want to have these forms to you for FY25, to show what was done then, and then I'll give you an update on FY26 once it's available.
Education, I'm sorry,
I have a quick question for you. And this is more high level operational. Do these groups all say, I don't know, I'll use the implement connections. No, that's a bad one. Hill Park District operations, is there a line list of what that money would go towards that you guys receive, like from the fund, like the receiver of the funds? Because I think that would also then trigger more specific data to like map back against that would be easier for you guys to receive. It's not just you asking for information, but it's like, hey, we're committing that this is how we're gonna spend this money against these different types of things. So that it informs that like communication and feedback on the metrics and what is working and not working.
So I run at least quarterly, usually more often than that, I run reports out of the city accounting system to see what they're spending money on.
But she's asking for something perspective.
Yeah.
So for instance, again, for the PCA process, when either the agencies or the community-based organizations are putting forth what their projects are, we have them do a detailed budget. So whether or not it's staffing, how much is it programmatic, whatever it is, even if it's a development project, we're asking for sources, uses, etc. And then we're not there yet. However, we've been sort of
perfecting, so we're a process around that in order to be able to incorporate that.
And our project information form is asking a lot of those questions, like, what is this for? You know, and give us a narrative, give us a budget. You know, did you have this? Yeah, they have to break it down. I mean, not like, you know, how much somebody's health insurance is gonna be, but yeah, this person's gonna be this much, this person's gonna be this much, we need this much for that project, we need this much, that much for that project.
Can I ask for some insight? And it's gonna sound rude, so I'm gonna preface with no. Why are these metrics not available? Like, why doesn't it, why?
Why?
It does not make sense to me that these metrics are, like, we're in the process of figuring out metrics. If you're getting this much money from like these budgets that are so delicate and they're dwindling, why don't we have this information? That seems critical for for anything to get funded.
It just,
I mean, I would get the boot.
Gateway Partnership requires their grantees to,
I'm betting for the grantees.
The Gateway Partnership has 27 employees now.
Well, I mean, is it processes around it, taking what causes that?
We did it pretty, so, let me back, so we are required to report on, the single local impact fund, to the state. And so it's really an annual report.
Yeah,
It's very basic in terms of that kind of information. And so, you know, the other layers of transparency and accountability, we have to build those, ourselves. So with, the Upland Planning Department now 4 years, and that is what, quite frankly, I've been focused on. Across the whole agency.
Okay.
And so we've been able to, you know, PCA, an example, there was nothing.
Okay, that's what I'm asking, because having come into my job, it was like a bomb went off, we were at like below ground zero, I was like digging myself out of someone else's grave. So if that's where this like lack comes from, I'm just curious.
But if I could also mention, like, all these are city agencies, like, they have all their own audit procedures, they have all their own oversight. You know, and then when they put out grant agreements for the money, the grant agreements spell out like what needs to happen for them to receive their funding. And they have to go through the normal process, audits. And there's a lot of eyes that get on any money that goes out the door to the point where,
When we're asking for the information, we're asking you for the information, not necessarily the agency for the information.
No, it's not questioning.
Got it, okay, thank you for that.
I will say that the level of detail in reporting varies project by project. Like
it does.
environmental education and National Aquarium, they have the capacity, and so they send us very detailed quarterly reporting.
Okay.
Whereas some of these other agencies that are over capacity, taxed, you know, tapped out, the data that they give us is waning. But yeah, I think it is definitely our goal to have more
And
consistent.
we want to hear you say that, we want to hear you say this is important, and we can work with
And
that.
similarly, you know, I guess last year was when the project information sheets that Kurt's talking about, was the first step in us saying, okay, so you're asking for money, we're going to measure.
Yeah.
So then it's time to now collect that information around.
Yeah, and the question isn't intended in any way to be like, you're not doing a good job, it's just in any job that you've ever been, like, you can't spend money you don't have, and if someone's gonna give you money, you have to exchange value for that money, so it seems like such a basic question when it's like, we don't have the answer, that's where I'm like, why, wait, whose door do I knock on?
Are the agency audits public? Like, I guess what level of that type of data is publicly available? Because honestly, I will go through it. I've done contracts audits for the past 10 years. That was my professional job. Like, I want to help you guys in any way I can, because again, it is a lot of work to go through and cross-reference these things and evaluate what the money is being spent against. But if we're all doing this part of the same council, like.
I think we're talking about, you know, financial audit in terms of, you know, what's spent and then how the mechanism in which the city, you know, expend funding to individual contract or grant agreement. So all that information his time, definitely. However, that performance, what you're talking about, which is different. And
I would say this is when I go back to like the city not being good at being just specific. It may be happening, but there's just no mechanism for like the DPW worker to press the button to say I did this. And so it looks like it's not done. There's not reporting mechanisms for enhanced services at a city agency level. And so it's very, it may be happening and it is like, there's some, but it's very difficult to capture. And I think that's half of the problem of this is that because the casino area is this little specified area, the agencies are like, look, I gotta deal with all this, the whole, like, I gotta figure out that all of the trash is picked up. I don't have a way of tracking this area. So,
Right.
however,
and, I mean, agree. Yes, I totally agree. But that's the. We're running close to time. I'll see, we're on 6 and 7. Oh, anybody, any middle scores out there?
No,
Okay.
no,
Eight,
no.
nine?
Yeah, okay. Well, 6, 7, 8.
My 7 is, but can we, what are the homelessness strategies? Because I'm currently Fed Hill's homeless strategy.
Yeah, we have services staying in Main Street, so.
Yeah, I think we do want to check in with home services and kind of what's happening there. I've heard that a lot recently.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to do with that and that deal, but I mean, so I think having these conversations and asking them to come out more and talk more to you all is.
But I think on the 8, very helpful for them to talk about their answer.
What are the?
It'd be nice to be able to see a strategy.
If you're telling me that like 90% is operational and you're going out once a week, I've got some opinions about that.
Same.
But I also just wanna know like what is the plan? Because I believe that someone is doing something, but I can't see it. And so because I don't wanna become the like community talking head where I'm like, they do nothing. Because people say that about my office all the time and I'm busy as all hell. So, but I would just love a little bit more like, just transparency. Yeah, I spent like 3 hours on Saturday being like, sir, can I get you coffee to please pick up your pillow? Okay, let's go. Here we go. In a train. Let's go. Pick up your friends along the way. And so I would love to see that like maybe there is someone else holding the end of the rope, guiding them down the street.
So again, these are perfect questions and requests for the agency Q&A to say, hey, we just need to know more about what you guys are doing, how we can engage with you and how, yeah, absolutely.
I think it's important. I want to see it funded. I just want to know what you're doing.
Well, and it is, to be fair, between streets are probably, I mean, if it's District 10, District 11, the rest of Porter's district, definitely Westward and the rest of South Baltimore that's a big area to cover for one additional person. If we're just going like Lakewood, Westport, even still. So, yeah, we may not be seeing them, but if there's a way to coordinate.
And just take their phone number.
Yeah.
8 or 9 o'clock at night, when I have an issue, I'd like to be able to blast them.
Yeah, but they only work 9 to 5.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So do I.
What's something that they're working on? They have a new pilot, a 24/7 pilot that, I don't know when it started, or if it has started.
It's started up in.
It's starting. We're on Lexus Market, yeah, so they're piloting more things, maybe the last got to.
Joins. I'm tired.
All right, well, I'm sensing our fading, so I'm gonna just check in to see, so I think we've gotten through most of the questions. I'm gonna say, if there are other things that emerge, any questions that emerge, please email ahead of the January 8th virtual agency meeting, correct?
And so what I will do is, contract the 8th, that's it's a Thursday the 8th, I'll send out, reminders, it should be, and I'll send out the calendar invites after this meeting. I'll also send out to you on email with a link to an online form. I'll basically say, have a drop down, what program you want to provide comments on, these are my comments, submit. You can do that as many times as you want. If you'd rather have a sit down and talk with me, with, whoever Jasmine, and Nick, or the other planner, he wasn't able to be here today. And just have more of a conversation about your thoughts and concerns, we can do that, we can have a phone call, you can just email me at 8 PM on a Thursday. You might want to talk to a crazy kid, it's probably gets
Not to call you, I only call Tyler.
We're 24/7 service also.
Tyler, before we're gonna close, there's, we'll need more information about the Florence Cummins budget. And then Lisa has said. Online, yes, yeah, Lisa agrees with more transparency and metrics being needed. And has questioned if the presentation will be circulated.
Yes,
Yeah.
so, so
And
Florence.
published on the website.
Yeah, so Florence Cummins, had a prior, investment. And then BCRP's putting in some money. We asked them how much they needed to do it, and they said 1.1, so we gave them 1.1. So that is going to fund that project. And yes, the presentation will be circulated. A recording of this will be put up online. I hate the sound of my own voice, but I will listen to it anyway, just to make sure it's okay. Yes.
Excellent. Well, if there are no further burning questions, comments, or concerns, we go to order. Thank you all. Have a great night.